A few weeks ago, I picked up a bottle of Kota's Pandan Liqueur, and it's quickly become one of my favorite purchases to date. Now, in this video, I'm going to do a deep dive into what it is and how it can be used to make some truly unique cocktails. Now, if you haven't liked and subscribed to an Odyssey and Mixology, then please do so, but above all else, enjoy. Now, I am always on the lookout for new liqueurs, and a few have gotten more hype in the past year than Kota, the first bottled release from traveling bartender Nico de Soto. Now, Kota is a pandan leaf liqueur co-created by Nico and the House of Gabriel Boudier, a renowned French distiller with a catalog of over 40 spirits and liqueurs bearing its founder's name. I'll get to Nico's backstory in a minute, but first, what really matters is what's in this bottle. The first question is simple: what exactly are pandan leaves, and why is their flavor worthy of a liqueur backed by one of the world's most celebrated bartenders? The pandan plant is native to Southeast Asia, where it's widely used in dishes like curries and cakes. Its juice is also used in local sodas because of its subtle flavors and light green coloring. Now, despite how common it is there, pandan rarely makes its way into Western cuisine, which is a shame, because its flavor is really interesting and goes with both sweet and savory flavors. People who are familiar with fresh pandan leaves often describe them as buttery with floral, nutty, and almost bread-like flavors. And I'd agree with that, to a point. For me, it starts out more grassy, then finishes with something like a mild, nutty vanilla. But in between that kind of first and last taste, I pick up a lot of those described notes, but with less sweetness than I was expecting. I can definitely see why someone would turn them into a liqueur, which is exactly what Nico de Soto did. Today, he's known for the occasional DJ set, but mostly for owning award-winning bars and seeking out exotic ingredients to create unique, boozy experiences. It took him many years to get there, though. He was born in France, and driven by a love of travel, he booked an extended trip to Australia in 2005. It's there that he took his first bartending job at a pizza restaurant, and that began his interest in mixology. Back in France, he slowly climbed to the top Paris bar scene, and in 2015, he opened his first cocktail bar, Mace. It debuted at number 28 on the world's 50 best bar list, and it wasn't his last. Over the years, new bars followed, and between the openings, he traveled to more than 100 countries, hunting for unique flavors and ingredients. It was on one of these trips that he tried pandan leaves for the first time. He loved everything about them, and they became a staple ingredient in all of his bars. Kota is the ultimate expression of this love of pandan leaf flavor, and it released in 2024 to great reviews. It's 36 proof and comes in at around $40 for a non-standard 700 milliliter bottle. At the Gabriel Boudier distillery, fresh pandan leaves are macerated in a neutral grain spirit and then blended with sugar before filtering and bottling. It's elegantly packaged, and now that production is in full swing, it's starting to become more common in higher-end liquor stores. Surprisingly, Kota isn't the only pandan leaf liqueur on the market, but no others have the publicity or the online buzz that Nico de Soto brings to his creation. Beyond marketing, there are other key differences, though. The next most popular pandan liqueur is Bang Dong 22, and it's bright green with a flavor profile deepened by cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg, and cardamom. Now, I'm not saying this is better or worse than Kota, but I do think Kota is a pure expression of raw pandan leaves, and that makes these two liqueurs very different spirits despite sharing the same exotic base ingredient. You can tell this was designed by a legitimate bartender because it has this integrated spout in the neck, and this means that you can control the flow as you're pouring this bottle far better than if you were using a normal bottle, or even a bottle with one of those plastic inserts that makes this flow more standard. I love this addition, and I wish more higher-end bottles had this feature, so this is very much appreciated. So, Kota's aroma is wonderfully interesting, although I wouldn't have originally called it one of my all-time favorites. It's strange, but I do keep wanting to go back to it. There's a grassy vegetal note reminiscent of Brazilian cachaça, but far more nuanced and full-bodied. I've always thought cachaça has kind of a pleasantly composting quality, and Kota does share some of that grassiness, but it also carries a sweet marzipan note like almonds and sugar. It's actually a bold and intense aroma, which is a very good start for a new liqueur. The taste is just as strong as the aroma, but in a good way. It's consistently bold, but still carrying all of the same great qualities. There's no alcohol bite at all, and the flavor tastes both natural, but also carefully enhanced. It's kind of an odd mix, but it tastes too strong to be natural, but I can't really pick out any sort of artificialness to it. At first, a toasted almond butter note comes through alongside the fresh cut grass, but then that kind of mellows out over a few seconds into a bit more of an earthy sweetness. Now, the main grassy flavor, I think, probably comes from raw chlorophyll, which is the compound that plants use for photosynthesis. Its taste is often described as chlorophyll-y, but if I had to break it down, it's kind of a mix of earthy, slightly bitter, and almost kale-like notes. To me, it evokes fresh-cut grassy fields, but there's definitely more going on beneath the surface. There's a vanilla note here, and it blends really nicely with the marzipan. The texture is silky, and I get hints of bread pudding, but I think that's just how my mind is interpreting the two primary flavors as they kind of meld together. You can definitely drink it straight. It's quite sweet, but again, that's fairly typical of a liqueur. The real standout here is the uniqueness in the overall flavor and how perfectly balanced each component is. I mean, it's really well combined, and I really wouldn't change anything about it, even if the sweetness level is a bit higher than I would normally like. And here's the interesting part, because honestly, the uniqueness of the flavor took me a little while to warm up to. When I first opened the bottle, I tried it and then set it aside for a few days, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. It was an intriguing flavor that kind of made me think of food, but I was pretty much impartial to it. It wasn't my favorite liqueur, and I kind of had mixed feelings about buying the bottle. It felt like a blend of two distinct flavors that I didn't really like either of. I'm not the biggest fan of that kind of grassy cachaça flavor, and again, I also don't really like marzipan. It wasn't until I made cocktails with this a couple days later that I actually realized how much I enjoyed it. Now, mixing it with other flavors kind of softened the contrast between those two dissimilar flavors, and it was like a switch flip. It's actually something entirely new. Trying it again now, I really appreciate it a lot more than I did the first time. And I'd even go as far as to say it's one of my favorite new liqueurs, but again, whilst I might describe its taste and aroma as separate flavors, the pandan leaves really do create something singular and cohesive. It just borrows from both what I know and stuff that I don't, and that's why I had so much trouble with it the first time. And after my eyes were kind of open to it, I started thinking of all the different cocktails, both, I'll say, new and old, that might benefit from this really interesting flavor. And I honestly think that out of all of the different ingredients that Nico de Soto's come across, he probably felt something similar, which is why he decided to turn this into a global liqueur. Kota's Pandan Leaf Liqueur is one of the most surprising bottles I've encountered, not just from bringing a unique, exotic flavor to my bar, but also for how quickly I went from being indifferent about it to making it one of my favorites. It has all of the hallmarks of a craft liqueur, yet it's produced by a renowned distiller, so it's reasonably priced overall. It pairs well with a wide range of spirits and flavors, and if it was possible to imbue something with passion, then I have a feeling that Nico de Soto has done that here. So with that, let's make 3 simple cocktails to showcase how Kota can be used in different ways, because in cocktails is where this liqueur really shines. In front of me are 3 cocktails: Margarita, an Espresso Martini, and a Negroni. All of these are made with Kota. Now, I've taken the recipes from Kota's website, but I've converted the measurements to ounces and rounded the ratios for simplicity. Kota also has other recipes and plenty of beautifully shot cocktails featuring Kota from some of Nico's other bars. Unfortunately, the exact recipes for these special drinks aren't shown, but these 3 are good starting points if you pick up a bottle for yourself. Each of these drinks highlights a different aspect of the pandan leaf flavor, and to be totally honest, they're all great. but it's rare that a very strong flavored liqueur actually works with such a diverse group of ingredients. So it's worth exploring why these seemingly conflicting flavors go together so well. So the margarita is the cocktail that flipped the switch for me, and arguably, it's also the cocktail that benefits most from adding Kota to it. So lime and tequila are always a classic pairing, but the grassy and vanilla notes from the liqueur take this to a whole new level very easily. Now, this liqueur is not one that gets easily masked, and it's very forward in this drink. It also adds that velvety texture that, again, I rarely encounter in drinks that don't stem from milk punching. I also don't really enjoy vanilla margaritas, but this one works because it's not just the vanilla coming out, it's vanilla and sweet almond and hazelnut flavor, which also works really well with the green grass in adding depth to the margarita. I mean, this really is one of the best simple margarita riffs that I've ever had. It's a little weird, but still unmistakably a margarita. The Kota Negroni isn't your normal Negroni. Instead of using a classic bitter orange aperitif like Campari, it's using an Amaro to create that bitter component. Now, having tried the drink with Campari instead of Amaro, I can see why they went this route. The syrupy orange flavor from Campari isn't really the best flavor pairing with Kota. However, darker aperitifs like Bruto Americano work phenomenally. Now, keeping it simple though, this cocktail still leaves me wanting just a little bit more from it. So this is still very good, but it's a bit less of a Negroni than the previous two riffs were of their own classic cocktails. And that really doesn't matter. I am the last person to be putting cocktails in boxes, and the drink has the least grassy flavor of the three, but it's okay because it's also one of the easiest to drink for me. I mean, instead of bursts of exotic flavor like the margarita, the herbal notes from the Amaro and the vermouth kind of develop alongside the pandan leaves. I mean, the brightness of the gin complements the grassy notes, but only subtly. And the real highlight here is the pairing between the vanilla nuttiness and the herbal flavors. It's really good, a very solid drink, but a little less of a deviation from the norm. The Kota Espresso Martini leans into the buttery and nutty flavors of the liqueur rather than the grassy notes. It's elevated, but despite the name, it's best not to use espresso. A full-bodied espresso overshadows some of the interesting flavors of the liqueur, so the cold brew called for in the recipe strikes the right balance. I made a mistake by thinking that I could sub in fresh espresso for this. It just completely overpowered the liqueur. With the coffee on the lighter side, the bread and biscuit flavors of the pandan leaves starts to shine through. It's like biscotti with hints of fresh green grass, and this adds a bright freshness to an otherwise very dark drink. And this is another excellent simple riff on a classic cocktail. Now, personally, I would have added a touch of mint to bring that cool, refreshing sensation that would have further highlighted Kota's grassy notes against the rich coffee backdrop. The other cool thing about this cocktail is that it shows how the Kota can punch its way through that coffee flavor. Despite getting covered up by the pure espresso, which, again, almost everything else would, this is still very forward and very present in this cold brew version. And that's not something that most liqueurs could do. I think the vast majority would get covered up significantly more than this one is. And I think the only ones that could give this a run for its money are those that bring a spice or a bitter component. So the fact that this is able to go toe-to-toe with the likes of an Ancho Reyes or an Alma Tepec or a Campari in creating new flavors on top of such a strong coffee cocktail is really impressive. So again, this is a very simple addition to a classic cocktail that really changes how it comes across. I like all of these, but there's a big jump in complexity between the classic cocktail riffs and the Kota-based creations at Nico de Soto's bars. I did give his Ballad of Mulan cocktail a crack though, It's made with vodka, Kota, jasmine rice, lotus root spices, and egg white. I can only guess how the original tastes, but I actually really like how mine came out, and it's a very interesting and unique flavor profile. And overall, this liqueur is extremely fun to experiment with, and these 3 cocktails only scratch the surface of what it can do. That's it for my deep dive video on Kota's Pandan Liqueur. In my next video, I'm going to review the award-winning lineup from Amos Spirits to decide if they can receive an Odyssey in Mixology's very prestigious Best New American Distillery of the Last 10 Years award. Now, if you haven't heard of Amos before, then the answer might surprise you, but I'll leave you with 4 words: mushroom, Earl Grey, gin. Now, if you haven't liked and subscribed, then please do so, but as always, thank you so much for watching. Cheers.